Welcome to another episode of Detroit's Darkest Times. We would like you to subscribe, hit the like and the notification bell. Stay with this channel, grow with this channel, be a part of Detroit's Darkest Times, and back Detroit's Darkest Times. Today's segment is events that happen on Livernoise Street in Detroit City. But before I get started, I want to announce some brands that I embrace. This is Swiss Miss Hot Chocolate, Folgers Coffee, Crown Royal, all brands of Cuban cigars, Cadillac, Jaguar, so if you're associated with them brands or like these brands, hit the like. And we're going to get started on this segment. Years back in Detroit City, on Livernoise Street, during my time, my name's Slick, I'm from Detroit City. During my time in Detroit on Livernoise Street, we're going to start up by Joy Road and work our way down Livernoise to 4th Street. So, Livernoise and then Joy Road. Joy Road, I used to go quite often, different occasions. Some to a girl's house, and then some to a liquor store on Joy Road. And a lot of things take place on Joy Road. If you want to know the history about Joy Road, I'm sure you can look it up on YouTube or Google, and you can find out a lot of things about Joy Road. Because myself, I've had a lot of encounters on Joy Road with different folks, different, businesses, things of that nature. But all good. Nothing bad. But anyways, as over there's a dude named Les that I know. One time he was walking to the liquor store on Joy Road from Heritage Place. And it's a big apartment building that he used to live in. He's walking over to the liquor store, him and his wife. And a guy approaches him and he's wanting to rob him. But what this guy don't know is that Les always carried a pistol with him. So the guy tries to rob him. He cuts him on the arm with a straight razor. And that's about far as it goes, because the guy does not rob him. But that was just an incident right there on Joy Road. Now we're going to go down Livernoise a little bit. And we're going to get to the post office on Livernoise. In this post office on Livernoise, I'm walking home from school. I'm in junior high school. I'm walking home from school. It's in the winter. It's cold as a mug outside. Well, I get by the post office and I see this dude posted up by the post office. And during the winter at that time, I don't know how it is today, but during the winter at that time, a lot of people would pull up, leave their car running, and go in and check their mail and come back out. Well, that's what took place. When I'm walking home from school, I see this dude posted up by the post office. I see this guy pull up in a car. He hops out the car, goes in the post office. As soon as he makes it in the door of the post office, this guy walks straight to his car, hops in, and takes off. So obviously this guy needed a ride. I don't know how long he was out in the cold or how far he had walked prior to getting to the post office. But the dude needed a ride because it was cold. And he actually got him a ride. I know it's a bad incident, but the way you would have just had to be there like I was. But the way I seen that take place, I started laughing about it, even though I was freezing. Because I still had, several blocks to go till I made it to my house. But I had laughed about it because it was just the way it played out and stuff like that. I couldn't help from laughing, Hopefully dude got his car back that time, because back in them days when people took your car, sometimes you would get lucky to get your car back in one piece, depending on if the person needed it for a ride or if they was going to use it for other things. But sometimes you can get your car back in one piece, and then sometimes you would never even see your car again. Or sometimes your car would be, dismantled, stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of scenarios where people took cars back in the day, And everybody had a different agenda, the reason they was taking the car, It ain't like today's time, where people are just taking cars just for, joyride only, It wasn't like that. It was a lot more to it. But in this guy's case, I'm sure he just needed a ride. But who knows? He probably had other plans with it. You just never know. But my thought on it, dude was freezing. And he just wanted to wait until a car pulled up so he could jump in and take off. That was just my thought on it. But that was just a crazy incident and had me laughing. But anyways, we're going to move up Livernoise to Otis. Now on Otis, there's a brick bar on Otis and Livernoise. It's actually a brick building. It's got 2 apartments upstairs, a bar downstairs, and then a house connected to it in the back. And it actually was across the street from Gin Parlor liquor store, which is no longer there anymore. But anyways, in this building, in the Big D's bar, I attended a wedding reception there and had a good time over there. And the owner's name of Big D's bar was Dan. He was a cool dude. And then he had a barmaid, a blonde-headed lady. I know her name, but I can't think of it. She was a real nice lady. But at this bar, you know, we had the reception, had a good time. Then as time passed, Dan had this old Cadillac out back. And it wasn't the Cadillac you see today. It was like the real Cadillac. You know, what I mean by that, it was just like made like a Sherman tank. But it was gold, and it was set out back way before we had moved to the neighborhood. He said he had parked it and just left it there, and all the tires went down. He didn't think it would crank back up, and he was asking me, did I know somebody that would be able to get that car going? And I was like, yeah, I know just a guy. So I got the dude, and I actually helped him, and we revived that Cadillac. And it's like a 60 something model Cadillac. It was the real long one. I think it was a Fleetwood, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, we had seen if all the tires would take air, and they did. They would just the air just evaporated out of them because it set so long. Then we put, new battery, new plugs, new wires, radiator fluid. The man bought everything we needed just to get it up to par where it actually. And really, once we did all that and put a new battery and everything, this thing fired right up. We had to put some gas in the carburetor, but it actually fired up, and had to let it run for a while because it smoked until the smoke died down because it was smoking pretty good. I guess from the reason it was set so long. But that dude, Dan, he was really happy and really surprised because he said he didn't think it would ever run again. But I think he took it back to his house. He didn't continue to drive it. I think he took it back home, or he possibly sold it. I really don't know, but I know he got it. It got from the parking lot of the Big D's bar. He got rid of it, so I don't know if he took it home or actually sold it. But it was one of them big Fleetwood Cadillacs, made like a tank. But up here at this bar, now upstairs, you got two apartments. And you had this apartment on one side, this lady named Trish. She lived there. She's a cool lady. And me and a friend of mine, we hung out at her apartment sometimes. And but anyway, she let her brother come and stay with her, and he had two ladies with him, and they stayed with her for a while, and I had met them and stuff like that. And she at this time she had a couple of children, and she was pregnant with another one, I do believe. But anyway, she knew this old dude named Old Man Lou. And Old Man Lou used to give her money all the time. And she knew him from back in the day. And he used to give her money all the time, take her shopping and all kind of stuff. So I really don't know their relationship as far as how they knew each other from way back when or whatever. But this old dude took care of her, best he could and stuff like that. When she needed something, he would give her money and stuff like that. Also, I seen this dude. He popped up. You didn't see him that much. I think he popped up once or twice that I had seen, and she introduced me and a friend of mine to him, and actually it was her boyfriend. And she said he lives in Canada, so he was just over there visiting. And that's when she told me she used to take a bus to Canada to go visit him. And that's when I realized you can take a bus over to Canada. But really, I didn't, before she told me that, I didn't even think that was even possible. But she, take a bus over to Canada. And anybody's familiar with Detroit City, they got the Ambassador Bridge. And then they had a tunnel that went under the Detroit River. And both of them went over to Windsor, Canada. But that was just a little thing about Big D's bar that happened, you know. And there's a lot of other things happen that I'll get into later, but I'm just saying some partial stories of Livernoise Street, that's coming off the top of my head. But, okay, so we met her old man, met her brother. And like I said, Trish was cool. And she was actually friends with another lady I knew, Robin, and they were friends. And but she was just a cool type of lady. You know what I'm saying? You just had to meet her and talk to her and stuff like that, and then you could see what kind of vibes she had. But she was cool. Anyways, right there at that same spot, we used to have a garage behind Big D's bar. And we used to sell things out of this garage, basically just having a garage sale. And then we started telling people in the neighborhood if they got anything to sell at their house, bring it to us, tell us how much you want for it, and we're just going to add a little bit more to it so we can make money for selling it. And we didn't think this would do too well, but it really did good for a long period of time. And because you just had all kind of people bringing stuff. And so that was an interesting event, a little hustle that we made money at and stuff like that. Then across the street is the Gin Parlor liquor store. And at this liquor store, at the time in question, they had two young dudes working for them. And the people who owned this store was Basil and Mark. But they had two young dudes working for them. I don't know if they were family members or what. They might have been family members or whatever. But at this time, had two guys working over there. Then this other cat, and I spoke about this in the past. This other cat worked over there. Then this dude had went into the store to buy some, and then he got into it with one of the young workers. He wasn't real young, but he wasn't an old dude. Got into it. They both got into it. They got into a scuffle inside the store. Then they got out of the store, and so the one guy went across the street and got a chain and a lock. And then the other dude, I don't know if he went to his car or what he did, but he ended up coming up with a butcher knife. And then they was getting ready to go at it, but they was on each side of Livernoise, and just going on with each other and stuff like that. I would say if they would have connected, if they would have like met each other in the middle, or one of them crossed over, it wouldn't have been good. because, I didn't know the dude that worked at Basil's store. I just knew of him, but I didn't know him. But I knew the other guy, and I knew that if they was to connect it, it would have been a disaster, basically. But anyways, luckily for both of them, they just had words and stuff like that. And then finally the other dude left, and then the other guy left too. But then I think this guy ended up quitting. Both guys quit over there at that liquor store after that incident. And I don't know what the situation was, whether they was just didn't want the static of the neighborhood, or if they just wanted to go because just to not get in no serious trouble. Because, like I said, I think it was relatives of Basil's and Mark's. I'm not for sure, but they had left. So after they had left, I went over there and started working at the store, and this other guy went to work at the store, and so we're working. And at this liquor store, it's like 10 in the morning to 10 at night. That's the shift it was. Well, this is back in the day, but you'll work for 6 days, you'll be off on Sunday. That's how it worked. And if you needed any money, or if you wanted to charge anything at the store, they would write it down for you. And if you needed money, they'd give you money and just write it down and just take it out of your pay. Well, this one cat that was working over there, he ends up getting a chocolate milk, and he's going to take it without telling them about it and tell him to put it, take it off of his pay. But one of the guys sees him take the chocolate milk and yells at him. So he gets the chocolate milk and slings it downstairs, and that's where they kept all the stock and stuff at. He slings it downstairs, but the guy done seen him, so the guy fired him. And I was like, damn, dude lost his job over chocolate milk. So it was crazy. But back in them days, people just did whatever they could to try to get up on the game, Even though you had a job, I guess that guy just didn't want to take nothing off his pay, and he just thought he could get that chocolate milk without paying for it, which it backfired on him and he lost his job. So it really wasn't worth it to do that. But that's just another incident, on Livernoise. It was crazy. But there was a lot of crazy things happen on Livernoise. So then the next thing is, behind Jim Pollard and on top of it, of the liquor store, there's an apartment on top. There's 2 apartments in the back, one downstairs, one upstairs. Well, this dude lived back there with this lady and some kids. Then they ended up breaking up. I don't know if they was married or just living together, but they ended up breaking up. So this cat had a pool table, and then he wanted to sell it to us. So we ended up buying this pool table, and then he ended up leaving, So I don't know if he needed a bus ticket or what the deal was, but we didn't see him after we bought the pool table. He had left. So either him and his old lady got divorced or they just split up. I'm not for sure if they were married or anything. But then you had these 2 other cats that was hanging out over there. And this was JD and Fox. And as time progressed, Fox ends up going with the lady back there. I don't know if they ended up getting married or whatever, but these were cool dudes, And I talked to the lady briefly here and there, just like going by walking past the liquor store and stuff like that. She seemed like she was cool, but I just knew I knew JD real good. I knew Fox just by seeing them in passing and stuff like that. But they ended up hooking up, and then they ended up moving down Livernoise in a house on the other side of the viaduct. And actually, they ended up living on the house on the other side of the viaduct on Livernoise, but behind them, friends of mine ended up buying that house behind them. But anyways, I also heard, I think JD was telling me, I believe it was JD that told me, he said Fox was playing his address on the lottery at his new house, on Livernois. And he said he finally, hit his address on the lottery. And I said, shit, that was pretty cool, because sometimes, you stick with a number on the lottery, and eventually you're going to get it. You just got to stick with one number and just stay with it. But he was telling me that, and JD hung around our house a lot. We seen him a lot in the neighborhood. And he was just all around cool dude. And we just had more encounters with JD than we did with Fox. And there was another cat with him too, but he was just with him briefly when I first seen all three of them. I remember when I first seen all three of them, they was walking down Livernoise. And Fox had a white leather jacket with the white bebop hat. JD had a black leather jacket with a bebop hat. And then the other dude, I know his name, but I just can't think of it. But there was another partner of theirs, and he had like a red leather jacket with a bebop hat. And that's what I call the hats. Some other people might call it something else, but that's just what I called it. But anyways, all them dudes were cool dudes. But like I said, we just had a lot encounters with JD. And I remember the last time I seen JD was he was actually driving a school bus, one of them small school buses. And he actually opened his door. We had a conversation. And then he had rode off, But and JD nicknamed me Elvis, because the reason he nicknamed me Elvis in the neighborhood is because he always seen me with different girls walking in the neighborhood, whether it be taking them to the store, the gas station, or going somewhere, whatever. It was just, he just always seen me with a different girl because a lot of times he hung out in front of the liquor store or on the side of the liquor store. And so he started calling me Elvis. Me and him's had conversations. He knows some things in the hood that I know. And, so shout out to JD from Detroit City, Livernoise Otis. And, but anyways, we've had different encounters, stuff like that. And he's just a straight up cool dude. Then I had a girl I was trying to date. She lived on top of the liquor store. At first, she lived on Military, but then her and her mom moved up on top of the liquor store. But I was trying to go out with her and stuff like that, and we had a few incidents together and stuff like that. But I remember one time I rode up there in '79 Trans Am. It was like the Smoking the Bandit Trans Am, and I pulled up there, and what I was going to do is see if she wanted to go see a movie at the drive-in. And when I talked to her, she was like, and this before she got involved with anybody else. But she said, "You're gonna have to show me divorce papers, something like that." And or it might not have been that. She might have said, "You're gonna have to prove to me you're single." Because she was thinking I was still seeing somebody, but that person wasn't around, so I was trying to take her out. I think that's what she was thinking. But anyways, I tried to get her to go, and it didn't happen because she thought I was seeing somebody else, stuff like that, because she's a legit girl from Kentucky, from Louisville, Kentucky. She's a sweetheart and a good person, stuff like that. And her family's good people, stuff like that. And but I know her whole family, and but that was just one incident right there. And then me and my friends used to hang out on the side of the liquor store. There was a parking lot, and we used to uh, park the cars, and then they would all meet up at that liquor store, and just basically just listen to music and drinking Brass Monkey and stuff like that. And just hanging out basically. So that was a thing we did. And then there used to be this one cat. I remember when I first went to the neighborhood on Livernoise and Otis. There was this old dude, and he's in a wheelchair. And you couldn't understand what this guy was saying. He would mumble off. He was in a wheelchair. And a lot of the girls and people in that neighborhood knows who I'm talking about. And they might even know his name. I don't remember his name, but he used to go to the liquor store. In front of the liquor store, then the owner would come out, Basil, and he would take the money from the old man. But I don't know how he knew what the old man wanted unless somebody called ahead of time to tell him, what he wanted or whatever. But anyways, what he did, he got him some liquor and a Playboy magazine. And that's what the old man would always come and get. And then he would take off in his wheelchair. But I've seen him, the old man talk, he couldn't say no words. He was just like mumbling and stuff like that. So, which makes me think that maybe somebody called prior to him showing up because nobody was with him, like pushing the wheelchair or anything like that. It was just him. But I'm thinking maybe somebody called, or Basil might have knew that guy from way back when and just knew what he wanted. I really don't know the story behind that. And maybe a friend of mine, David, because he used to work at the liquor store too, maybe he would know more about that than I did, because I just seen that take place several times. And I was wondering how Basil knew what the guy wanted. You know what I mean? Because Basil and Mark, they've known me good. I used to work for them. But also, my friend David, he worked for him for many years. His sister Loretta, she worked for him. And I believe his brothers worked for him. Some of his brothers worked for him too, if I'm not mistaken. But Basil and Mark, they were cool people. I always had good encounters with them. They treated me right when I worked for them. And they were just some good dudes.